Yeah, my best team members are the people that will always take on a challenge no matter what. I mean, if somebody is hired, especially when you're talking about a small business, but this even goes all the way up to Red Bull. But if you say, well, that's not what I'm getting paid for, you're essentially going to limit yourself forever.
Welcome to Clicks and Bricks Podcast. We talk about the entrepreneur mindset.
If you get one shot at this, what kind of shot are you going to take?
If we forget who we are, they're going to forget who you are.
And you've got an adversity story that's out of this world.
Everything from that Main Street brick and mortar to that billion-dollar manufacturer.
Hey, Zach, how you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. How are you?
Fantastic. So I was just reading your bio a little bit. Pretty impressive for your age. I'm sure you hear that sometimes in this industry. Can you tell the audience a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and how you got your start in this industry?
Yeah, sure. So my name is Zach Koerber. I'm currently based in Phoenix. I'm 26 years old. Essentially, I've kind of fallen into a few opportunities in the way my companies got started. When I was attending UNLV in Las Vegas, I got involved with Red Bull. And that was kind of like my first introduction into marketing in general and kind of led me down the path I am in today. I interned at their headquarters in Santa Monica. I got accepted into their grad program. And then at a certain extent, I had just such a good network from my time at the headquarters in Santa Monica and the time I spent with Red Bull. People were just kind of branching off and going to different beverage companies. And I saw a real opportunity to use my network, those people at those other companies, and they essentially were my first clients. So like Mike's Hard Lemonade, White Claw, stuff like that, where they said, hey, we have this need. We don't have people in house. If you can do it, because I was kind of the kid when I was an intern running around and doing everything at the headquarters, they knew that I would just be able to take it on and just take care of it. That's kind of how I got my start. And we eventually evolved into local kind of marketing and helping smaller businesses and local businesses, mainly because you can just really see the impact on the business when you help a business that size versus when we're doing these big brand activations at pool parties or whatever it is. You don't really see the needle move as much as talking to a business owner and then talking to them 6 months later and seeing the true night and day difference. So it's a little bit more rewarding, and we've kind of fallen into that aspect and then expanded even deeper into that by the software company that I'm now a part of with my co-founder, Daniel. And essentially that's for real estate brokers, teams, and agents to really scale their business and take their stuff to the next level.
Okay, so today you're running two companies today, is that correct?
That is correct, yeah. So I'm a co-founder of Realia, which is our real estate software. I have an amazing co-founder, Daniel. He's the mastermind behind the code and can build a product out overnight if we have a new feature or something. So it allows us to be really nimble, and he's really dedicated to the craft of improving the code and improving the product. And then the agency is something that I've had running for about 4 years now, and that one's more of like on autopilot. We've been doing it for a while. So in terms of fulfillment, in terms of our sales staff, I have some really great team members on the agency side that allow me to not be so involved, where I'm just kind of on the top level decisions, but I'm really in the day-to-day of Realia right now and making sure that's scaling.
Fantastic. So let's go to the agency for a little while, and then we'll talk about Realia as well, because I think they're both super interesting, right? I love that you had the internship at Red Bull and turned that into an agency. Can you tell us a little bit about, like, obviously as an intern, and I remember my internship was pretty chaotic. You know, there's different kinds of interns in the world, right? There's the guy that comes in and just, I'm going to do everything. And then there's the guy that goes and just does like gopher stuff, right? Mm-hmm. How do you, like, to be the guy that's going to do the extra stuff, you got to go out on the limb every now and then, right? Because you got to show what you can do, and nobody trusts you, right? Especially a 20-year-old kid, right? I mean, were you, had you graduated college at that point?
No, so I think I was 21 when I was doing that internship. Okay. So the process to become an intern is pretty convoluted. So their interview process is really intense. There's over 3,000 applicants, and I think they had like 10 positions open.
Oh, wow.
So you have to get through certain levels of interviews. And one of the craziest part of their interview process is they essentially will send you a case study 48 hours before you have to present it to a board, that will basically try to pick it apart. You're also presenting it to the people you're competing against, and they're going to try to pick it apart. And you're kind of coming up with these marketing initiatives and ideas that haven't been done before. So that's like the first way that you're able to kind of like show, hey, I'm capable of doing this, coming up with this idea, executing on it and whatnot. But there were a couple of key points, I would say, within the internship that kind of helped me get to the next level. I remember specifically we were doing a Red Bull soapbox race. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a big Red Bull event where we shut down part of Los Angeles, and we did it a couple of times because we did a couple of publicity stunts with like Jay Leno's Garage came out, and we did it. And then we did it another time with a Red Bull athlete. So leading up to that, we had quite a few meetings, and there was a lot of, with an event like that doesn't happen every year, there's a lot of opportunities to grab things and say, I can do that. I'll just do that. I'll just take care of that. So there were a couple of logistical like nightmares, I guess you could call them, where they couldn't figure out like a scalable solution or a fulfillment company that was within our budget that would be able to do a couple of the things associated with getting invites for the event, influencer kits for the event sent out. And I was just like, I'll take it on. Don't worry about it. I'll do it. Like, I'll come to you if you guys have any questions. But like taking something like that on that the higher ups, I guess you would say, just didn't want to deal with, because it just felt like grunt work. That was like my stepping stone into being able to say like, okay, well, if he took care of this and this just made my life 1,000 times easier, it just saved me 20 hours worth of work while I have all these other things going on, I'll give him a little bit more and a little bit more. So by the end of the summer, I actually was planning events with $50,000 plus budgets, and being able to be the lead on that, where, hey, I'm planning the event and all the higher ups are kind of like, okay, well, what do you need from me? What do you need from me? And being able to glue it all together. So that was like the key piece, is not being afraid to take on the stuff that people might not want to do, and being able to then relay that into bigger events. So
yeah, so I find this super interesting, and I'd love to hear your take on it. You know, I'm almost 50, and I deal with a lot of young people on a daily basis that are employees. And I frequently ask them, hey, do you want to work on this project? And their first question back to me is, give me the details of the project. And it's not a, yes, I want to work on that, and I'll figure out the details later. In your journey, how frequently when they said, hey, do you want this project, did you jump in with both feet without having any idea what you were getting yourself into just to figure it out, versus kind of treading lightly? And I'd love to hear your input there, and then how important you think that was, your personal way that you handled that in your career growth.
Yeah, I think I've always been someone that's just willing to put in the work. I know that nothing's going to happen if you don't put in the work, right? And when I was like going all the way back to when I was in ASB in high school and became the president, I feel like I was a much better leader because I had done all the things that just needed to be done. I knew how almost every position needed to be done. I've done it before. I've done some aspect of it myself. So then when you go to the leadership position, it helps you to a much greater extent. But when it comes to a company, I mean, Red Bull, for example, I mean, there's very few jobs that you could do with Red Bull, or events that you could do with Red Bull, that aren't going to be enjoyable. It was just like the environment. Everyone becomes a family. So
but it's still hard. I mean, off a $50,000 pool party.
Yeah,
it sounds like a lot of fun, but it's a lot of work. It's not easy.
Yeah, and a lot of stress too until the day of the event is over. But in terms of like just saying yes, I think that is kind of how I got to where I was, because I was just able to say yes. And because I said yes to some of the maybe not so fun stuff, they trusted me with the fun stuff. And that was like my ladder on the way, where I saw some of the other interns that kind of like just sat in their meeting rooms and did their spreadsheets or whatever they were given. And I was running around and doing all the cool stuff. But it wasn't by chance. I mean, if I would have stayed in there and just tried to find the easy intern work where I'm checking boxes, then I wouldn't have gotten those opportunities at all.
Yeah, I find it so interesting. I think it's one of the most important things a young person can do in their career today is just take the responsibility when offered, right? The whole concept of, or the questioning to your boss or your manager of, oh, well, can you give me more details before I make my decision if I want to try this or not, just turns the managers off. It doesn't feel like you're willing to do the work. It's like, oh, my favorite little joke to talk about, some of my staff members is, oh, I want more hours. Oh, but I don't want to work that shift.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like complaining, and then you offer it to them, and then they don't want to take it. It's frustrating for management to have somebody on their team. They need a lot of people on their team that have that mentality, because you need the rock stars, the stable guys that are coming in and doing their job every day. But it's 100%. The guy that just says yes to everything that becomes a superstar and figures it out on the backside of that. And it's so important for anybody that's starting a business, because if you're starting a business, you think you don't have customers, but
you have to do everything.
You're an agency
Plus
owner,
more.
Right? How many times do you do a project that you don't like doing? Like, there's products that you just don't in line with, right? Like flip-flops. I wouldn't want to sell flip-flops. That sounds like pretty tedious. But the guy that says, I'll take that job and I'll rock it, he's the guy you want on your team.
Yeah, my best team members are the people that will always take on a challenge no matter what. I mean, if somebody is hired, especially when you're talking about a small business, but this even goes all the way up to Red Bull. But if you say, well, that's not what I'm getting paid for, you're essentially going to limit yourself forever, because now when a cool opportunity does come up that you do want to be paid for eventually, you're not even on the fucking radar. Oh, sorry.
Right.
You're not even on the radar.
Yeah, you're good. Chris will bleep it out. Yeah,
cool.
It's fine. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a business owner, and still once a week I mop a floor, right?
Yep.
Just one, because I like my staff members seeing that I'm willing to do all the jobs, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, I kind of enjoy it. It's a little methodical for me to mop the floor at my gym once a week, right? I go in there and clean everything up and listen to music, and it's nice. So there's no job too small or too big for anybody out there. And if you have that mindset, it's gonna be really struggling. You're gonna have a lot of struggles on growth if that's the mindset that you have, right?
Yeah, you're gonna cap yourself.
At least growth in business, right? You might be spiritually or however you want to grow in other ways. There's more ways to grow than being an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. But I mean, when it comes to like a career path, you can just accelerate yourself so much further. You can just over deliver in every sense of the word, and saying that's not my job, or that's not something that I'm interested in, or what is it, or I don't want to do that. Like, you're not over delivering.
And it's okay. Like, I've even gone to some of my bosses in the past, like, man, this job sucks, but this is how I'm going to automate it. These are the resources that I need to get it done. Mm-hmm. And if we do these things, then we never have to do these jobs again, because it's 100% automated, right? Going back with solutions, not the problems, I think is the number one asset that I look for in an employee. Like, hey, I send you out to do this job. If you come back with solutions, not the problem. I don't want to hear about the problems, right? If you're bringing me back the problems that I have to solve, then I don't need you right, to do that for me. So it's an important distinction when you're doing that. Now, you go from throwing these mega parties, right? That feels amazing, I'm sure. You have these, $50,000 to have a pool party in your 20s. That's a dream come true, right?
Yeah, I had a really amazing one. It was an amazing team and family, and I'm still really, really close to them, and I see them almost on a weekly basis to this day. But I was 21, 22, and 23 when I finished my internship. I was still going to be on the Red Bull team in Las Vegas, which is their number one, what they call on-premise market in the world, where you're drinking at restaurants or drinking a Red Bull at a pool party or whatever it is. So I had an amazing time with Red Bull, and I'm very grateful for those days.
This sounds like such a blast, right? You got all this money, you're working for this big company, you're having all these great parties, beautiful people flying out of the sky, all this fun stuff. Was there no hurdles in your way there?
To leave?
No, just to do that job.
Oh, I mean, it was challenging to say, like, it kind of takes a toll, because you're out all the time, and you're never not working when you're in that position. You're always on. You're always representing the brand when you're out, because as being part of the on-premise team, you become kind of identified with the brand. And when you're showing up to a club or a restaurant with the rest of the team, you guys are representing the brand. One, you're building relationships so you can leverage those later on, but you're out all the time. And it does take like some sort of toll on like how long you can do it. And most people don't do it for more than probably 5 to 7 years just because it is that demanding, especially in Las Vegas. But I mean, other than that, there's the regular challenges that come along with it. But I was really blessed with a team that just kind of like we all worked off of each other. I helped out wherever I could, and it was just a really unforgettable time in my life for sure.
Right. During that time, did you have any moments of like, oh my God, I can't believe I just screwed that up that bad?
Not really in like the Red Bulls. I was lucky enough never to have like a huge mess up.
Okay.
I think we had like one time where we were doing that Red Bull soapbox production with Jay Leno, and had the soapbox cars going down this hill, and our Red Bull athlete was in the one that this happened in. Thank God it wasn't Jay Leno in there, but one of the brakes went out and then they crashed into a hay bale, and then the car was kind of broken, and I was the one that set up that whole car to come, and I picked that car out and all that kind of stuff. So although it wasn't really on me, it was kind of like a oh crap moment. We got to get this figured out, and what can we do to get this fixed right now? But it ended up working out fine, and TV shows love the little extra drama you can throw in anywhere, so it actually worked out great.
Yeah, I think when people see these productions, and I worked in production when I was younger, they think that everything just goes off flawlessly, and it does. The more you do it, the more flawless it gets, but I don't think I've ever had a live show go 100% perfect, right? There's always something happening, but you manage it in such a way that the audience never knows that, right?
Yeah.
And I don't think that the audience ever, unless you've been in that position, appreciates how many things go wrong every single day, and you figure out a way to overcome it, right? It's just amazing how many times something breaks inside those kind of events.
I mean, that translates even to like day-to-day business. I mean, there's something always breaking. There's something always going wrong. There's always an email in the inbox. I mean, it's just part of the experience. And if you can just roll with the punches,
it's never over.
That next lap. Yep.
Right. Okay. Yep. So you're working with White Claw, Red Bull, big hitters, having these extravagant parties, and you decide to switch gears and really help small and medium-sized business, mom and pop Main Street, right? This is a place where I'm super passionate about, right? Main Street, the American business owner, is something that I absolutely am aligned with and love to help. But I'm very well aware of the struggles you have in selling them marketing services, right?
Yeah.
Why was that? What was in your mind to say, hey, I'm going to make this change, and did it happen organically as well?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a couple of factors that we just ended up kind of progressing into it. It wasn't like one day we said, okay, we're going to stop all of this stuff and just go over here. When we were when I was starting out, because I was alone at first, but when I was starting out, we had like the bigger events, and I would hire based off event, and it was a lot of like manual labor, not so scalable in a way. While they were bigger events and kind of bigger paydays in a way as well, they just didn't scale the way that I imagined being able to scale an actual agency would go. Along with that is, while I was doing those bigger events, I was also bringing on some of the smaller mom and pop businesses and helping them out with certain marketing aspects. We started out doing just social media in the beginning, and kind of then dabbling into ads, and then transitioning into the SEO when we really were discovering what's producing the best ROI for these local businesses. So as time went on, we just had more and more local businesses. And the thing that really like changed it 100% was when COVID happened. We essentially weren't working with the big brands at all anymore. And then it was all about the local businesses, and it was 100% local, right? So that's when we really were like, okay, let's just double down in just local. We were looking at our previous jobs, our previous clients, and kind of analyzing where do we have the most fun? What is the most scalable? Who can we help the most people doing? And that was going to be ultimately the local businesses, and being able to take them and put them where 90% of their market is going to be beneficial for them for years and years and years to come,
Right.
versus being able to do something one time that's cool, but it's just not as rewarding as being able to say like, hey, XYZ, owner of XYZ Plumbing, right? They started with us when they were just a two-man team, and now they have 45 employees. So when the holidays come around, we know that there's almost 50 families out there that are having a good Christmas because of the scale that we've been able to bring to a specific company, right? So that's a whole lot more rewarding than just saying like, hey, wasn't that cool? Look what we did.
Right. Yeah, the mega parties are fun, but the feeling that you get when you help a business is real, right?
Yeah.
That's like, going from helping a company go from 2 employees to 40 employees, if that's what they want to do, is,
Yeah.
Can you tell us a little bit about, the relationships that you form with these business owners while you're going through this process? Because, and maybe you can have a different opinion on this. I find a lot of small business owners don't even know terms like cost to acquire and total customer value, right? They don't even know what that number is. So it's a lot of education on the front side.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback do you get for yourself when you're helping these companies do that? Because sometimes it can be frustrating, but when you figure out the secret sauce, I think it's pretty rewarding stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of trust that goes into it because you're forming a very like personal relationship with the actual business owner and yourself. Especially when I was doing a lot of the sales when we were first transitioning, that relationship that you have with that business owner, it's all trust, right? Because they know that they're going to be trusting you with X amount of an investment, and they need to see a return on that investment relatively quickly, right? So to build that trust, we do a few things, especially when we first talk to a new potential client. We do a strategy session, and we spend like 30 minutes to an hour with somebody, whether we know that they're going to be a good fit for us or not. We spend 30 minutes to an hour educating them, showing them what's going on with their competitors. They can give us competitor websites, and we'll show them the exact insights underneath the hood of their competitors, and saying like, look, Johnny down the street is killing it and he's getting all the jobs. Let's take a look at exactly how he's doing that. He's doing that by bidding on these key terms and doing SEO for these key terms. So building that trust in the beginning is crucial. So we do that on a full hour call where we don't even sell them anything. We don't even like, there's no option for them to get started with us after that first hour.
Right.
After that first hour, what we do is we put together like a 25-page PDF full of research on their local market, their specific keywords that they could go after with search engine optimization, where their listings are inaccurate. So we just ship that over to them basically after that call, and we have the time to do that research. Again, just like providing as much value and building as much trust in the beginning, and really like showing them that we do over deliver and go that extra mile. So that trust is there when they do start with us, because if we're willing to spend an hour with you and we're willing to put together 25 pages of research for you, then if we're over delivering in that way before we even ask you to potentially become a client, imagine what's going to happen when you do become a client. So that is key. And then we have a lot of tools that we've implemented over the years to show like the most transparency possible, especially with SEO and search engine optimization. There's so much of this like gray area of like, hey, a lot of agencies will say, we're going to go after 10 keywords, right? And then you see them next month and you're like, well, what did you guys do? And they're like, oh, we worked on 10 keywords, right? Where our system now is completely logging every single time an account is touched. They know exactly how many deliverables they should be expecting every single month and how that should transition into a ranking. So there's no question of what's going on. It's always live updated into a dashboard that they can go into, and that trust is always 100% there. There's never any question of like, what are you guys doing or what have you guys done? It's always 100% valuable. So that relationship and building that trust and having that transparency really helps, because especially with a small business, like you're talking to the owner and they're telling you like straight up, like, this is what's going on in the business today, and there's challenges that all businesses have. So being able to kind of roll with the punches with them, and also show them, we've shown plenty of client support where they're like, hey, we had this unexpected event happen in the business that's going to cost us 10 grand this month. We say, no problem. We'll take care of things for a month or two, just to show that that we're there with them, and they're part of the family with us. So
now the holy grail in my mind for a local business and online marketing is a local business that solves a direct problem, right? That is really, really, if you have that, like if you're a local plumber, you're a local roofer, you're a local dentist, if you solve an immediate problem for somebody and you're not doing online marketing, either you got to be sold out, your doors are packed, you can't get anybody else in there, or if you need more business, you got to talk to somebody. If you fall into that bucket, your local business that solves an immediate problem, and you're not busting at the seams with growth, you need to talk to an online marketer, because that particular set of circumstances it's just so pivotal, so rewarding to knock that out of the park, right? But not all businesses have that very specific problem that they solve. The problem that they solve is more subjective, right? And it's not the marketer's job to sell the product, right? So have you ever had a situation to where the traditional marketing strategies that you use didn't really work as well for that business because, you know, maybe their messaging on their website wasn't correct, or their salesperson wasn't the best, you know, closer in the world? Have you run into any situations like that?
Yeah, I mean, we used to dabble in ad spend for clients, and we've since kind of like dialed it back. We have some of our like top clients that we still do quite a bit of spend management for, but back when we were doing it for basically anybody that wanted it or needed it, we came across one client that it was a delivery-based business, and he could only deliver to specific zip codes, but this was a gift. So you would buy this as a gift for somebody else, and like, let's say for Mother's Day, right? And if you don't live in the exact same, if we advertise to the zip codes where he delivers, but you're buying a gift for someone in another zip code, it's gonna kind of create some issues there. So we had that specific client where obviously we discovered that after we were running the ads that, hey, we have 1,000 people that tried to check out, but they didn't make it past this because when we watched the recordings back, the zip codes weren't supported. And that's something that we were initially like, the finger was pointed at us. But once, I'm glad that we had the transparency in place where we had the recordings, we had the data, because at the end of the day, that was kind of like what helped us. And that actually is what kind of helped him pivot his business, because we were the probably 5th agency that he ran through with ad spend. And obviously this problem was happening over and over and over again because it's the zip code issue. And after us, I know that he took that into account and he kind of pivoted the way that he supported zip codes. And I think that the business is still running today, but it was a big pivot for him to make. So
absolutely, yeah. The whole process has to be looked at from the time, you know, how do you get their attention? How do you message to the user? You know, their checkout process, even the post-checkout process on the thank you pages for your other offers for like services, right? Every single little step has to be looked at. Now, you said something pretty interesting that I don't think every user that's watching or every viewer that's watching kind of understands. Are you saying that you guys can record what's happening on the website from the end user's perspective?
Yeah, there's a website out there called Hotjar. I don't know if you've heard of Hotjar, but Hotjar is basically,
I have, but
yeah. You can put code on your website and it will anonymously monitor traffic. There's no phone numbers that get recorded. It'll automatically block out any personal information, names, whatever. If there's any type of form that they're actually filling in, that does not get recorded at all. This is just a way to anonymously monitor how your people are engaging with your website. So you can, 1, watch video recordings, or 2, they actually have heat maps where you can see like where people are scrolling, where they're clicking, and it kind of helps you improve your user experience. to a great extent. Like we run it on a lot of our ad landing pages to see when we pay to get somebody to look at a page, what are they doing? How do we improve it? What do they look at before they click away? Is this a common occurrence? Like all of those things really help you take things to the next level, and it can be applied to almost any website out there to improve user experience.
Yeah, I love Hotjar, and I'm just going to go off on a little tangent on website design for a second here.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's really odd if you want to look at your website as a salesperson, right? You get somebody to your website, you want to tell them what their next step is, and so many websites just have you don't know what to do. You don't know what the next step is. You got to look at the menu bar and do all this stuff. And I equate it to if you had a guest over to your house for dinner, you would open the door and you would walk them into your kitchen and you set them down. You wouldn't say, "Hey, here's my house. Just wander around for a little while we finish dinner, and then just find the kitchen."
Yeah.
And we'll do that, right? So, there's a lot of rules on making. There's 6 main rules that I deal with, but one is you have to have what you want the end user to do, which is potentially buy your product or get into a sales call or get into a sales funnel. Really, really obvious on that main landing page without them scrolling or anything. And I look at hundreds of websites a week probably, and I just scratch my head thinking, man, if they just had a button bigger in the middle of the page or somewhere, they would probably do a lot more business. And
it's huge. It's so huge because it's a lot of work to get people on the site in the first place, right? And if they can't convert for you, it's not going to be an asset that's going to perform for you. And even going back to like Realia, the real estate software, part of what we offer is specific landing pages that they can turn on that are designed differently, because we don't want agents and realtors sending traffic to a homepage where someone can then go to a blog and then they're reading about a blog and then their kid starts crying and now they're off their computer, right? So what we've done is we've basically said, look, these are landing pages for you guys. They live on your website. You can't access them through a menu, but this is where you should be sending the traffic, because we've hidden the menu, every single button there. If it's clicked, when it's clicked, it's going to turn them into a lead that's going to put them directly into your CRM, and then they can go browse around and check things out and read about you. But that landing page is very specific, and we call it lead leakage. Like you don't want to have any traffic leakage across your website if you're paying to get people there, especially to generate leads. Like it just has to be dialed in and 100% focused on what you want them to do.
Yeah, I think a good rule of thumb, at least I tell a lot of people, your website is for your existing clients and your landing pages are to acquire new clients.
Exactly.
Right? You need that website to talk about the about and the owners and the login pages.
It's a brand building tool. Yeah.
Yes, but it's not a sales tool. Or it can be a sales tool, but I think it's often so frequently, misdiagnosed as my website is my landing page or my sales funnel, and it's just pages of your website can be part of your sales funnel, but it's not your landing page. Your landing page is your branding moment, right? It's to tell your story and all of those things,
build
not
that credibility
to sell a product, right? So I think those are important things. So you've got the agency up and running, everything's rocking, you're to the point where you're not in the daily grind, you're out of the trenches, and you decide, hey, we're gonna do another one, right? We're gonna start another company.
Yeah.
Tell us about that story.
So my co-founder Daniel, I've known him since I probably just like when I was 19 and I just moved to Vegas. I actually did a day where they needed data entry people for a startup that he was currently working on, which he's not part of anymore, but that's when I first met him. It was a pretty complex process to enter this data in. And I was one of the ones that caught on so quickly that I was able to teach the other people that were there how to do it properly. And he kind of saw that and identified that. And I started helping them out a little bit more with the startup at the time too, when I was still in college. And we kept in touch. And eventually he's always been kind of a serial entrepreneur as well. And he had a friend that was a broker in Las Vegas, a luxury broker, huge. His dad handed the brokerage down to him, big team, well known in Las Vegas. And he was losing a ton of listings to these smaller agents that were more nimble, that had their websites dialed in, that were using automations, that were using text and emails and all these other stuff. And he was losing market share to them and losing listings to them. and a couple $1 million listing. When you lose that, that hurts, right?
Yeah.
So when him and Daniel were close friends, and he was kind of discussing that with him, and Daniel was like, look, I'll just build you a website. He's a developer, so I'll build you a quick website. Then he was like, well, I need a CRM that's going to do this as well. So they basically got the minimal viable product up and running with him, and to a certain extent, his friend said, hey, you need to basically make this available for everybody, because this thing's rocking and rolling. Like, our whole team is leveraging this. And I was talking to Daniel throughout him building this, and we've always been sharing ideas and whatnot. And he said, look, I have a product, and we're going to keep improving it, but now it's time to get people knowing about it. Like, let's take this to the next level and let's expand it. Again, going back to what's fun for me is scalability in a business and growth without a ton of bottlenecks and restraints, while being able to make the most impact. So this kind of checks all those boxes. Software as a service is a crazy industry, and you can grow crazy fast if you check the right boxes and get in the right places and do the right things.
Right.
So we started working together. I've done a ton of lead gen. That's kind of how we've grown our agency. I was showing him our funnel numbers, our metrics, our KPIs, and how we've been able to scale based on cost per acquisitions and retaining people, and basically saying, look, let's just transfer this straight over into the software. Let's partner up. Let's launch a proper company and kind of take it to the next level. So that's kind of where we're at today. And I saw a huge opportunity in that market, and it pairs really well with the agency, because as a software, we're a toolbox, right? But if you don't use these tools, they won't do anything for you. So if you're the type of agent that says, I'm at a certain level where I'm just too busy and I don't want to do anything, we're the preferred agency, and now they are sharing clients and customers. Same thing with the agency. When the agency comes across a realtor, a broker, whatnot, it's just automatic that we plug them into the Realia software first to take care of their website, their CRM, their automations, and their landing pages. And then we can leverage that through marketing. So it pairs really well, which was unintentional, but it just kind of naturally happened. And yeah, that's essentially how it was created. And then I got involved, and now we're taking it and just acquiring users as quickly as possible.
That is phenomenal. So, and that it's all is that commercial and residential real estate agents, or just residential?
So it works for both. We have people from both industries in there. However, I would say like 90% are residential in our user base right now. And yeah, I mean, it's a full end-to-end solution for anybody in real estate. Brokers can use it to attract and retain top agents, saying, we're going to give you these tools to leverage. And with our certain pricing structures, some brokers actually upcharge it to the agents, and they create a new revenue stream for themselves, as well as single agents. What it does is it gives them a front-end website. It connects to the MLS. We update our MLS every 3 minutes, so it's just as up-to-date as like Zillow would be, for example. It reformats MLS data into a beautiful website, beautiful design. It's easy to manage. Our hosting is on AWS, so it loads extremely quickly, especially on mobile. And then it also has the landing pages. So you have your two front-facing features that attract the people and their information. And then it dumps them straight into a CRM, which is another area that I provided value in the product development, because our CRMs that we used for the agency were extremely complex with a lot of automations, because we were generating leads. So they need to be followed up with 10 to 12 times before they get on the phone. And we've built out the CRM automations for real estate agents to just automatically follow up, reply to the point where it's putting hot leads in their pocket and texting them when somebody is like, hey, I'm ready to start looking, or let's talk, or let's have a listing consultation, or anything like that. So it's fun, and we're literally building new features every single week right now, which is really exciting. And every single feature is requested by an actual user. So we're not just building what they think they need, we're building what they actually want and need. So yeah, super exciting. And it's really exciting to see the results as well, as far as them being able to leverage it.
So I'm familiar with Salesforce and HubSpot, and I've been on projects before where we made CRMs in the past. I mean, web hosting on its own is highly commoditized product, but you're offering this whole bundled suite. And if anybody's ever priced out Salesforce for a team of 20 or 30 people, it's not inexpensive.
Yes.
Right? So on your software package, if somebody wanted to use it first, how would they get that process started?
Yeah, so we take the same approach as the agency and our sales cycle. So we want to make sure that, hey, let's get on a call. Let's talk about where you're at, what you've tried, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and let's get a game plan together for like how you could be leveraging this technology that we're seeing market leaders leverage. Like one of our top power users, their brokerage owns 8.5% of the Arizona market. Wow. So it's a lot of transactions, and they are leveraging it to its fullest extent. So taking insights from customers like that and being able to tell a single agent or a brokerage, hey, this is how you can attract and retain agents. This is how you can attract and convert leads, and basically doing a full consultation before we don't try to sell them right out of the gate. This isn't just a one size fits all demo. This is a, hey, what's worked, what hasn't worked for you. This is how you could leverage it. These are some of the tools that industry leaders are now using. And if you want to use them the same way, let's get started. So it's not so much as a pressure, it's like an educational session. And if we are the one that fits for you, let's do it.
Okay. Yeah.
And that can be booked in at our website. Realia.me is our website. But
Realia.me, and we'll throw the link right down at the bottom. So if you're a real estate agent, commercial or residential, or if you're a broker looking to help your agents or even get another revenue stream, this is an opportunity for you.
100%. Yeah. And it's just cool to be able to get them in there and say, look, these agents and these teams that are doing billions in transactions every year, this is exactly how they're doing it. Like, we open the doors. We obviously don't tell them who they are, or what markets they're in, or anything like that. But we will literally tell you step by step how to plug it into your business as it exists today and be able to take you to that next step.
That is really, really cool. And so is there considerations to branch this software out into other verticals as well to help other sales teams, or is it going to stay real estate?
Yeah, it's interesting that you asked that, because we had so we have a partner program of people that kind of resell it or sell it based off a commission. And one of our partners came to us and said, look, I got a team of solar sales guys that want to leverage this. I showed it to them. If you just hide the MLS from the house listing stuff, like, I want to get them on it next week. So we are playing with the idea. It would be really easy for us to do so. We wanted to hit a certain level and threshold with the real estate industry first before we started distracting ourselves with the other verticals. But we are thinking about either doing one vertical at a time and really dialing into the needs of that specific vertical. Because real estate, for example, your stages of a deal are completely different than a solar company stages of a deal, right? Like prospecting, hot lead, need to follow up, right?
Permit process, a lot. Yeah.
Exactly. Yep. Whereas a real estate agent's like in escrow, showing houses, like all these different ones. And
the pipeline's different.
We see value in making them very industry specific, but we are playing with the idea for this solar company to make it a weekend project for Daniel and I to just make a generalist one, and just see kind of how somebody signs up and what they do, because the people are leveraging our CRM and front end websites. They're just so ecstatic with the way that the process works. And it's not like an Infusionsoft CRM where you're confused and there's too many buttons to use, right? Like Infusionsoft. That's what we started with our agency.
Yeah.
And
it's tough. It's very, like even HubSpot and Salesforce, right? I mean,
yes.
To implement those tools, you need a team of, a lot of people.
And it does so many things that you almost end up doing nothing with it, right?
Yeah, it's very subjective software, right?
Yeah.
And I like objective software that says, okay, here's my next actions. This is what I do next, right? And then roll it through where you don't have to have a whole team to configure it for you.
Exactly, yeah. So our usability is extremely high. Like updating your website is easier than posting a Facebook status. Like that's literally what we say when we show people the demo and we say, look, watch this. We're going to click on the text, we're going to change it, and then that's it. And it's automatically saved. So we are experimenting and going through some thought processes on expanding it. But again, we want to keep the main thing the main thing. We're really dialed into the real estate space right now. We're seeing some really great traction and results with clients.
Right.
So we don't want to distract ourselves too soon. Even though we know, like, we don't want to drown an opportunity and abandon what we have done so well for so long so far.
Wonderful. I think that's a smart move. Move forward when it's time, saturate your current market, and then move forward. I think that's a very, very good way to move forward with it. As tempting as it is to run in all these different directions.
Yeah.
Right. And now you've done that in your career, and there's conflicting advice out there in the world today about niching or not niching, and when's the right time to do it and when the time isn't. But if you would have niched only on big parties, you would have been out of business when the COVID hit, right? When the pandemic hit.
Yeah, COVID did hit us very hard because of that.
Right. So what do you tell the guy that's out there today that says, oh, you've got to niche down, and throws the diversification out the window, right? Because niching wrong, well, one, niching wrong is going to destroy you, right? But two, even if you do have a niche, I mean, things become illegal and things disappear in our world, right? So can you talk a little about your mindset on, not being just one thing to one group?
Yeah, I mean, I think it also depends on like what you're providing them. Like for our agency side, right? Like SEO is a pretty like it's done the same way, whether you're a roofer or you're a plumber, or whatever it is, right? I think that you can niche down without handcuffing yourself to that niche. For example, we have very specific ad funnels that are running that are very specific to plumbers, for example. And because we are niching down our advertising message on that specific funnel vertical, we are able to convert at a much higher rate because we are speaking directly to them. We are speaking their language. We are speaking their hopes, their fears, their dreams, whatever it is. And we're able to connect with them at a much higher level. However, we don't handcuff ourselves to just that one funnel. We have a couple. We have like roofing, we have plumbing, we have HVAC, we have dentists. So it doesn't have to be just one niche. You can still niche down while going after multiple niches. And that would allow you to kind of figure out, okay, well, these are our most profitable customers. Let's do more of those. And they get the best results with the strategy that we take. So then you can kind of identify which direction you need to go and then niche down, right? Kind of like, I think you should start broader and then narrow your focus, kind of like we did. And instead of just saying like straight out the gate, I'm just doing all plumbers and that's it. Because then if you can't speak to them and you can't crack the code of what they're thinking and what their language is and what they need, you're never going to be able to cross that line. And with our software, it's kind of worked to our advantage to niche down. We had a proof of concept with our first client, which we were very, very lucky that he helped us build the first initial product. And we knew that it fit directly what he needed because he was literally living our ideal client life every single day. But having some specific products on the software has worked to our advantage, because if we were a generalist CRM and website builder, I know that we wouldn't be as saturated as we are in the real estate market. It's because we are
competing directly with Salesforce.
Yeah, or ActiveCampaign or even like WordPress now, like all those things. We don't want to be a generalist on the software side because there are specific features that agents want. They want to know you're an expert in this one thing. Right. So, and then on back to the agency side, I mean, I guess we are niche down where we are just doing SEO primarily now, is in terms of a service. And that kind of translate back into the software where we're very focused on one vertical of one type of product for a specific client. Since we've niched down to just SEO, our logistics have gone much better. Our profitability is much better. It's much more scalable to really dial in one service first and then expand as needed based on clients asking for it. So, I mean, there's multiple ways you can niche down without handcuffing yourself per se.
Right. All right. So moving on to one of my last questions here. So I am a small business owner and I'm also a partner in what I would consider a medium-sized business, data center operator. And as a gym owner, I am bombarded every day by agencies telling me how they'll change my life if I implement this one feature and all these things. And I've taken, I've gone out on a limb with a lot of them. I've spent a lot of money on courses and all of these other things. And as business owners, I don't think that my experience is that different than the other people's, right? And a lot of these guys out there, I would consider fly-by-night snake oil salespeople. Some of them may have been successful, some of them not, right? Is there anything that you would advise the audience of small business owners to just watch out for when they're moving forward with a new agency?
Yeah, that's a tough question because there's so many ways to vet different services, right? Like if we're just going to vet SEO, like I can give you a 15 question list of frequently asked questions that you should ask every single SEO agency. Same with advertising. I would say that the biggest kind of believability factor, and if they can deliver on what they're saying, is ask them for their testimonials first. And that could be diverse across all of the different services out there. Like we have literally video interviews like we're just doing right now with our clients. And if they want to go say, does that person really own that business? Is this story really true? They can just go look them up, right? So there's a lot of credibility that comes along with, hey, this was an actual person. They went through the same exact sales process that you went through. This is what they had to say about their experience before we started working together. And this is what they had to say about the experience after we started working together. So if you have 3, 4, 5 of those, it's something that you can feel really confident going into, being like, okay, if I looked up all 5 of these businesses, they're all still up and running. They're all still, the owners are still a part of it. I can see the owner's name in the reviews or whatever it is. That's some really credible stuff there. And then on the other part is, if you're going to hire an SEO agency, go look up the questions on Google. Do a Google search, questions to ask an SEO agency. And then there should be the recommended answers on there as well. And I encourage people to do that we're even talking to, because I'm like, look, this is not us. We did not write this. And there's 3 different blogs that are saying the same thing. Here's our proof that this is how we answer the questions. And we have the screenshots and the videos to prove it. But they don't have to take our word for it. And you shouldn't take just one person's word. Go do your research, figure out what you need to ask them and what their proper responses should be.
Absolutely.
That's probably the best advice that I can give. And I tell the people that we even talk to, like, go Google what you should ask an SEO agency. Here, we already have them answered for you, and go ask that to the 3 other agencies that you're working with. And I think as well, and this goes on the software side and the agency side, you'll be able to tell how the experience is going to go before you ever give them your credit card or whatever it is, right? If they're just shooing you in the door for a demo, or they're sending you a one-size-fits-all PDF, they're not going to do anything better for you on the other side. Like, what's going to change? So you can kind of read between the lines and see a business's fundamentals before you ever start with them as well, I think.
I think so too. I think people can see through it. Unfortunately, small business owners, I think, are so passionate about wanting to grow their business that they'll make bad decisions based on, some adrenaline and pumped up and some good fancy sales talk. My advice is, generally, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. There are a lot of solutions out there that can help you grow your small, medium-sized business. But there's not very many that are just a single ingredient that changes your life. It's just not the case. This is a stacked set of systems that go into place to really make the online sales process whole. And I find it really frustrating when these fly-by-night guys are going out and saying, give me $10,000 and I can fix all of your problems in 10 minutes. Which just isn't true, right? Which just makes that business owner $10,000 short generally.
It's really hard. It's like one of the struggles that I have with our agency. It's like, man, the amount of skepticism out there and the amount of people that have been burned. They're like, oh, I signed up for SEO and they only charged me $200 a month and I'm a plumber in LA. I
know a guy that is a franchise owner, does not own his website at all, and he pays an agency $1,500 a month for SEO. And I asked him, I said, why do you do that? And he goes, well, because I need SEO. And I'm like, but you don't even own the website. They can't be making changes on your website because you don't even own it. It's the franchisors.
Yep. And
right?
on page is literally half the battle. So it's like.
And I'm like, okay, well, what's he doing? He's like, I don't know. They're doing SEO. I'm like, okay.
Exactly. Yeah.
So to me, they're doing your directory
deliverables.
listings, which is a $200 value at maybe $300 on the high side, but
and a one-time 300, not even a monthly.
Yeah. So it's a tough call. People out there, if you're hiring agencies, really do your research on them. Talk to them 3 or 4 times, right? It's okay. You don't get into a position where you're handing people money and you don't know what you're getting back. At the same note, when you're handing over $100 for something and you get some kind of return on it, then appreciate what you got as well.
Yeah.
It goes both ways, right? You get what you pay for.
Yep, you do get what you pay for, especially on the agency side. Like that's very, very, very true.
Yes. Zach, I've had a great time talking to you today. I
likewise.
got a little bit of insight. Is there anything you'd like to leave the audience with before we go?
No, I mean, if you guys are running your own business, starting your own business, there's going to be ups and downs. It's all part of the process. You have to trust the process because the ups are always going to be higher in the end than the downs were. So if you guys are starting something, keep going.
Yeah, overcoming the obstacle I think is fun. Or it's gratifying when you overcome it, right? When you get over that hurdle and you get to look back and you're like, holy crap, I can't believe I pulled that off. I didn't think I was going to pull it off, but I did, right? Yeah. That to me is probably one of the most gratifying things is looking back at that hurdle going, holy crap, man, I cannot believe we made it over that. So.
Yeah. That's how I feel about looking back on when we were going through COVID. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen, but it happened.
That was the whole world, I think, and we did it, right? We're here. It's 2 years ago now that we shut down for COVID. So
Yep.
It's a long run. Thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate it.
All right. Thanks as well.
Have
a great day. You too.
Awesome.
All right. Thanks.
That's it for today's show, folks. If you'd like to join my text line community, the number is 314-370-2871. All you have to do to join that text line is send me any question about business or technology. I'll do all the research, and I'll give you an absolutely free, totally unbiased answer. Get to work.